What's the deal, everybody? It's your boy Shane G here with my brother Eric, here with Shoot Style Sessions. You know how we do.
Yes,
We like
sir.
to bring you a little bit of pro wrestling mixed with an urban twist. Eric, how you doing today, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. I went out yesterday, so I'm a little tired, but because you know how the sun does the Arizona body in
I
the
do.
middle of the day. But I'm here, ready to talk some pro wrestling. I because of yesterday, I did miss Collision, so I don't really know what happened on Collision.
Well,
But
you
as
only missed
far as
half of it.
huh?
You only missed half of it because the other hour comes on today. So because of March Madness, they actually split Collision into 2 nights. So they did 1 hour on Saturday and the other hours tonight. So
Oh, okay.
so you'll
Well,
have a little
yeah,
bit of time to catch up before the night for sure.
yeah, for sure.
Um, but yeah, man, before we get into it, let's handle a little bit of business first. Shout out to Smashes. Artists, it's time to take control of your music career. Welcome to Smashes Distribution, where independent artists don't just release music, they break records. With engaged A&R support, customized artist roadmaps, and first editorial playlists, Smashes gives you the tools to stand out and blend in. Ready to get your music heard? Get Smashes Distribution and start making real moves today. Visit www.smashes.co/distribution to get started. That is smashes.co/distribution to get started. Smashes distribution that develops. Click on the link below. Artists, this is where you want to be at. All right now. So
Also, shout out to our co-host Steve. We got some scheduling stuff to work out, but he is very much still with us. He will be back on hopefully next week, and yeah,
yeah, still in the fold for sure, But
yeah,
that's the nice thing about having three hosts. If one of us has to take a back seat for a weekend here, we got two others to hold it down. So, shout out Steve. He'll definitely be back. Um, I actually want to start off with some news that kind of made me sad personally. This week, not really sad. I mean, because if this person is doing what they want to do, to make themselves happy, then ultimately I'm going to be happy for them. And I'm sure you've noticed it in my video game playing this week, that I've been picking one character in particular and playing a lot of matches with them. It's looking like Saraya might be retiring this year.
yeah. I wouldn't. Hmm. I like Saraya a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I always have. When she was Paige in WWE, now that she's Saraya, her real life character on AEW, I've always liked her. Um, I feel like she never really fully got all the way right after that neck injury.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of feel like that might be a part of the reason why we haven't seen her that much on TV
Mm-hmm.
in AEW, probably because she's been trying to, hold the neck down, trying to protect herself as much as possible, which I totally understand.
Yeah, gotta stay
I
healthy.
totally get it. I will say that I really did like Soraya's run in AEW when they were kind of giving her the reins to kind of run her own faction. Like I don't even remember the name of their faction right
The
now, which is kind of
Outcasts.
you said what?
The Outcasts.
The Outcasts. That's right. So I actually really liked the Outcasts when they were a trio, when it was Ruby, Tony, and Saraya. I really rocked with that. So I'm almost a little sad that we never really got to see that like flush out fully, because I feel like that faction kind of ended a little prematurely because of a numerous amount of factors. Ruby obviously has a baby on the way. Tony kind of blew up into her different character as far as the timeless Tony Storm. And then
Mm-hmm.
obviously with Soraya, as we've been mentioning, she has kind of been, I don't want to say protecting like herself as far as like the wrestling style or everything like that, but like it just seems like she's been like kind of taking a backseat to make sure that she's as healthy as possible whenever she does step into the ring. So I am sad about it, but at the same time, I kind of feel the same way that you do. Like if she wants to take the rest of this time off and make sure that she's can live as healthy of a life as humanly possible, then I ain't mad at her for it.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. I guess personally what it is because like I just never feel like, I don't think she ever truly got a fair shake to really ever show what she could do. Like, I don't think we ever got to see her at her full potential because, you know, maybe in NXT, the closest to it was probably in NXT. But after, you know, she hit the main roster, you know, they were still in the Divas era. You know, she was like, she was kind of, her and AJ Lee, I will say, are kind of the catalyst for what we see today in women's wrestling, as far as not having to be overly sexualized, not having to be like, you can just be a cool character who can wrestle and people will like you for that. Like, as a woman, you know what I'm saying? Like, AJ Lee, they put her in a lot of like relationship storylines and stuff, but I don't remember anything being overtly sexual though. You know what I'm saying? Like, whereas before that era, it was still bra and panties matches, Playboy Playmate matches, pillow fights, that, you know, that type shit, mud wrestling. Like, it was all of that. And then, you know, Beth Phoenix too, but Beth Phoenix, she was just so muscular and strong that it was like, okay, yeah, she's attractive, but we also have to play into the fact that she's a beast, so we can't really sexualize her. But basically everybody else was. But basically everybody else was until AJ Lee and Paige. So, and then Paige beat AJ Lee for the Divas title. You know, so I just don't think when she got pulled up to the main roster, they were ready to fully showcase what those women could do. And then when they started bringing in those people for Paige to be able to compete with and properly show what she could do, that's when she kept getting hurt. You know, that's when the injury bug started hitting her, because it was 2 neck injuries. You know, she had a neck injury. I forgot how it happened the first time, but she went away for a little while. And then she came back. I want to say that's when they were doing Absolution, her, Sonya Deville, and Mandy Rose. And then she was in a tag match, I think, and Sasha Banks at the time, Mercedes Moné now. You know, it was just a regular standard move, like, you know, just a reversal type move where she kicked her in the back. But I don't know if it was like a mistiming or, you know, if she got too in the moment and kicked her too hard or what happened. But that, you know, basically she kicked her like in between the shoulder blades. Like right in, you know, and you're running full force at somebody and then they kick you with both feet in the shoulder blades, you know, accidents happen. So that was the neck injury that actually made her go into early retirement.
Yeah.
So again, you got to remember how young she was when all of this was going on. I don't even think she wasn't even like 24 yet by the time all of that stuff happened. You know what I mean? And then, you know, because of the outside of wrestling stuff that was going on at the time, you know, the Alberto Del Rio stuff and the, you know, the leaks, you know, all of that kind of stuff. Like, I think there was just so much that like took away from the actual wrestling, which she was really good at, you know, and it's always going to be kind of like one of those what if situations with her, because then she did come back to AEW and she had a great run, or potentially still gonna have a, you know, this is rumors as of right now, we don't know if she's going anywhere, but you know, but it does seem like, you know, she's taking this opportunity to use or to exercise different opportunities, you know what I mean? So like she's been modeling a lot more now. I see, you know, it seems like her mental health is in a better place because, you know, she's, you know, obviously she has a history of, you know, toxic relationships and stuff like that, dealing with dudes who ain't shit. And so I guess the last guy was kind of one of those guys too, you know what I mean? And they broke up recently and she's been on Instagram and looking happy and, you know, just hanging out with her friends. And, you know, she seems to be in a much better place. And like I said, she's modeling and, you know, acting and doing different things. So it's like, if she's able to pursue other interests outside of wrestling, then like I said, more power to her. Just for me as a wrestling fan, I'm very happy that she was able to win a world title in AEW and in front of her home crowd. That was super important. And then just two other things and then we'll move on. But I love the fact that when I read in the interview where she was talking about potentially, not resigning, she was saying that her main goal with this run in AEW was to put new people over and to get new people over. And she did that. You know what I'm saying? The two biggest stars in women's wrestling right now, Tony Storm, Harley Cameron, those are both products of Saraya. Because again, going back to the Outcast, right? It was Ruby, Tony, Saraya. The Timeless character started developing while she was in the Outcast still. And apparently behind the scenes, Tony Storm gives Saraya all the credit for what we see on TV today because she was always shy in promos and shy on camera, outside of the actual wrestling part. And I guess Saraya was the one who really worked with her to help bring that character out. So without Saraya, we don't get Timeless Tony Storm in a real way.
Yeah.
And then 2, when Ruby Soho got pregnant, they needed a replacement in the Outcast who joins Harley Cameron. Harley Cameron, again, same thing. Like we saw flashes of it, like when she was with QT Marshall and them, and like when she was because that was the first time I heard her rap. Like I didn't actually realize that Harley Cameron was the same girl from the Scarlet Bordeaux and Shotzi song from like last year. Remember that video?
Oh yeah, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I was like, the third girl was Harley Cameron. I didn't find that out till recently, and I was like, oh shit, that was Harley. But she so there was flashes of it, but the character that Harley Cameron is now, I think again, a lot of that is from her time with Saraya when they were having those, crazy segments backstage with Renee and doing all of that stuff, So again, although a part of me is like, what if with Saraya, another piece of me is like, she contributed so much to the wrestling business in, sort of in a split career. Even though she was stifled for a lot of that career, she was still able to, make history in a lot of ways and change the game in a lot of ways. Like she's really a pioneer. So shout out to Saraya. I really hope that, whatever she does next, she's successful at it.
That's why I'm not too upset if she does decide to call it quits now, because you brought it up earlier with her and AJ Lee. Their influence is everywhere. Look at Roxanne Perez. Look at Liv Morgan. Look at Rhea Ripley. Look at
like modern day Rhea. It reminds me a lot of Paige Saraya, like aesthetically. That dark, like it's that alt girl thing. You know what I mean? Like for me, it started with Lita. Obviously, like that was my first wrestling crush for real. So it starts with Lita. But then that's always kind of been my trajectory when it comes to like the wrestling women that I'm attracted to. Like it's always those like, and it's always like those alt kind of girls, and Saraya is a natural extension of that. You know what I mean? So, I'll always have a soft spot for her. And like I said, I just hope she's successful at whatever she does next.
Yeah, look at somebody like Cora Jade. Cora Jade, instant
AJ Lee all day.
To AJ Lee or Paige, like either one.
And Paige, yeah, definitely. But all right, man. So what's going on right now in WWE world? WrestleMania is on the way.
Yeah, WrestleMania is a few weeks away. Obviously, I think the thing that everyone is kind of still talking about right now is Cena and Cody. I think, there's two big things that everybody are talking about right now. Cena, Cody, and then Roman, Seth, and Punk.
Yeah.
So there was an idea that, and again, shout out to Steve. I want to bring this idea up because he's not here, and I just wanted to float this on. And it kind of was actually hinted to me a little bit more when CM Punk brought up the favor thing on SmackDown, but said that he wasn't quote unquote cashing in the favor yet. Money in the Bank reference. Steve brought up something very interesting that I think could tie into Cody and Cena with Roman, Punk, and Rollins. So this is the idea that he's been floating to me basically, is that Punk ends up winning the triple threat at WrestleMania night 1. And then he uses the favor to cash in and get a world title shot because he won the triple threat match the night before. He gets entered into a triple threat with Cena and Cody, and then you can go wherever you want to after that. He thinks that if Punk gets inserted into that, then Punk will end up winning the world title. I personally think that they're going to hold off on that. I think that they're going to want to keep Cena and Cody as a one-on-one because there's already going to be a lot of outside shenanigans with possibly The Rock, possibly other rumors that we've been hearing about Steve Austin, a whole bunch of other shit. So I think that they're going to want to keep that one-on-one as much as humanly possible. I think they're going to wait on Punk to get involved with the Cena stuff. And it once, because I do think now that the triple threat has been set, I do think Punk is going to win. And I think you now set up Punk and Cena or Punk and Cody, whoever wins that match at WrestleMania, you set that up for later on because Punk has set up a possible storyline with Cody in the past couple of months, but then him and Punk and Cena obviously have tons of history to build off of. So I think there is a lot of ways that you can go off of it. I think Steve's idea is, I actually do like the idea if they did do that because it would make sense. And I could see Punk doing that 100%. I just personally think that they're going to hold off on Punk getting involved with the Cena and Cody stuff until the next pay-per-view, whenever that is, Money in the Bank or whatever.
Yeah, I see the only issue I have with that argument is Paul Heyman is not, he's just Roman's advocate. He's just a manager. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not, like, in storyline, in kayfabe, like, he's not a booker. He's not a general manager. He's not a commissioner. Like, what power does he have to just get Punk in the main event? You see what I'm saying? Like, that's the issue I have with that line. That's why I think the favor is going to be something else. Like, I think they're teasing it still just so that people don't forget about it. Yeah. But I think that's all it is. Like, I don't think, like, yeah, I just don't see how that, like, I get the idea behind it, but, like, again, Paul Heyman doesn't have the power to do that. Like, he's just, because of his position within the company in kayfabe. Again, I'm talking strictly storyline. Like, storyline wise, how could Paul Heyman insert CM Punk into a John Cena versus Cody Rhodes match when he's not really affiliated with any of them? Yeah, you get what I'm saying? Like, it would be, now if it was Roman in the main event, that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Because that's his direct advocate. You can, that I'm with you. If The Rock and Paul were still interacting on some level, that would make sense, because it's like, hey, I still got my in with the family. You know what I mean? The Rock gave Roman the Ulafala. He acknowledges. So I still got my, they could do that. But, like, they would have to tell that story a little bit so that way that would make sense. Otherwise, it would almost be too much of a swerve at WrestleMania. And then they would have to spend a lot of time backtracking and being like, oh, remember this and remember this. And like, you know, that's not really good storytelling. Like, they would have to lead us just a little bit, like, give us some sort of clues, you know, have The Rock and Paul Heyman talking in the background, you know, random in some segment, and they don't mention it and you just see it. And then it's like, okay, like, but you got to, it's like, the thing I've been hearing a lot lately is if you put a loaded gun in the first scene of a movie, that gun has to be used relatively shortly after that first scene, or something has to happen with that gun, because otherwise you're going to make people, like, people are going to just be thinking about that gun and the whole time, like, why was that gun there? You see what I'm saying? No, and they're not going to pay attention to other pieces of the story because they're going to be thinking about, like, what was up with the gun? Like, why was that? How is that going to factor in at some? So you got to get to it pretty. You see what I'm saying? Yep. So that's the only issue I have with that. I like the idea, but I just don't see how Paul Heyman has the actual authority to be able to pull something like that off. So,
yeah, I agree. I think they would have to do a lot of storytelling in the next couple weeks, and I think personally they still have a lot of other stories and a lot of other things to stretch out in the next couple weeks to get to WrestleMania. I mean, we only have 4 matches laid out on the card so far, so that's part of it. Like we still have a lot. We still have ways to get there before we even have everything that we know for the full card and everything. So
yeah, because
like
we
I
got
said,
what
like
Cody.
I definitely
It's what Cody Cena. Wait, okay, so Cody Cena, Punk Roman Seth, Rhea Bianca Io. Let's just
that's not confirmed yet,
but
but
come
it
on,
might as
that's
well
what it
be.
is. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Who else? Then we got probably Jacob and Solo. It's looking like
KO and Randy is confirmed, and
KO and Randy's
Charlotte and Tiffany
confirmed.
is confirmed. So that's only
Charlotte,
5.
Tiffany.
Oh wait, no, sorry, 6. Gunther and Jay.
And Gunther and Jay. So I got 7 because I'm calling Jacob. Right, I'm going Jacob Solo too. I'm calling that now. So we're gonna call it 7. That's night 1 right there.
I still don't really know about Jacob and Solo, only because I need to see what happens next week with that U.S. title match between LA Knight and Braun Strowman. Depending on what happens with that, that's when I will 100% make my confirmation on where I think Jacob is going. But I need to see what happens with that match first.
I mean, WWE, they project their stories pretty clearly to me. That's why if you think about it, like I've been able to pretty correctly predict most of what's gonna happen before it happens. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
And it's not because like part of it is just because I've been watching wrestling for a really long time, but also they kind of project where like they project their punches. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like I see stuff coming and I'm like, oh, okay, that's what they're about to do. You're pretty good at it too. You're better at it in the middle of a show though.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we'll be in the middle of Raw and you'll be like, oh, I bet you this is about to happen next. And then 2 seconds later, that thing will happen. And I'll be like, damn, like that was, whereas I'm better at being like, I think at this event, this is what's going to happen. And then it's going to lead to this. You know what I'm saying? Like, because they're very clear in their pathway, the way that it's not like where with AEW, where it's like you almost have to pay attention week to week or you will miss something and like something will like, they're not as obvious, I think, with the direction that their story's going. Whereas WWE, it's like once they lay out a path, you can pretty much follow the path and get to your destination pretty easily.
And that's the one reason why I need to see what happens next week, because I agree with you on that. And I agree with you that they are telegraphing Jacob versus Solo 100%.
Yeah.
That 100%. However,
they've been planting the seed for months now. It's like, okay.
Right. However, the only caveat that I have is who is LA Knight going to face at WrestleMania for the U.S. title if it's not Jacob?
Maybe nobody. Like, that's the thing. Like, mid-card titles don't always get defended at WrestleMania.
Yeah, but with what I see Triple H's booking wise going, he likes every belt to be defended on WrestleMania. He's done that for the past 2 Manias. He's had every single belt. Apart from, I can't even, the women's US or the women's tag titles. They've even been on WrestleMania. So I think when it comes to the PLEs that are throughout the year, like the Elimination Chambers, the Money in the Banks, the, things like that. Like, I think when it's apart from the big 4, I think that he likes certain belts to be defended on certain shows. But based on what I've seen from WrestleMania, 41. He likes every belt to be defended.
This is about to be WrestleMania 41 or 42?
41.
Okay.
Because, if I just think about
40 Logan and
39,
Randy
every belt was defended on both of them.
True, but we also have to keep in mind that there are more titles now as well.
That is a good point. That is a very good point. And I do think that some of those titles are going to hit the... because I don't want to say suffer, because that's not the right word to use. But they're gonna
Because think about it, right? Like
they're gonna fall to that SmackDown or Raw before WrestleMania, and that's where they'll be defended.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And I could see a LA Night or something like that happening on one of those shows. Because you got to think, like, and I really, Steve, hurry up and come back so that way we can have this conversation. But so you got to have the WWE title defended, the World Heavyweight title defended, the Women's World title defended, the Women's WWE title defended, the Women's Intercontinental title defended, the Women's US title defended, the regular the Men's Intercontinental title, the Men's US title. We're at 8 matches already. Both sets of tag belts. We're at 10 matches. Women's tag belts. That's 11.
There are no other main roster belts, I don't think. I think, yeah, that's it.
That's it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
World, mid, women's, women's mid, men's mid.
Men's mid.
Men's tag. Yeah. So it's 11. So
yeah,
that's 11 matches right there. So that's a lot. You're gonna split that over 2 nights. So so 5 matches one night, 6 matches the next. So
there's a few matches that are on the card that don't have belts involved.
That's what I was gonna say. So then you got 3 more matches maybe on night 1 to make it 8 matches, and then maybe 2 more on night 2 to make it 8 and 8. Because, like, even WrestleMania, like, that's why they split it into 2 nights, because Triple H is not a long pay-per-view guy.
No.
He's like, nope, let's get to it and get up out of here. So,
yep.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how it lays out, because I'm in the mindset right now that a few of those mid-card belts are going to be defended on the Raw and SmackDown before Mania. Because there's too many other matches that need to be considered, added in, possibly. And yeah, man, I just don't, like I said, like, this is a conversation that we need to have when Steve gets back about the too many belts conversation, because I do think, this is just my personal take, I think both companies have too many belts. I don't think it's universal to WWE or AEW. I think both companies have too many belts. I think AEW is about to solve their problem in the summer with one of those belts. Well, really 2 of them, because they're about to merge it into one, but y'all know what I mean. They're going to solve that problem with the international and continental belt. So I think that that's a good thing. But like, trios and tag belts, unnecessary to me on the AEW side. And then on the WWE side, we don't need 2 women's mid-card belts.
Yeah, I disagree with a lot of that, but I'll wait for Steve. Yeah.
We'll wait for all that. We'll wait for all that. That's just my take on it. That's
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think AEW has too many belts. I just don't think that I think the trios belts are booked poorly. And I think that they need more women's belts rather than continuously creating new men's belts. That's my issue with AEW. Because they have
take away the trios belts and give the women's women another belt.
Yeah, or give them tag belts. Like, that would be sweet.
Yeah.
Like something like that. There's some restructuring I think AEW should do with theirs. Yeah, but we'll talk about it when Steve comes. So, but yeah, so
one question I wanted to ask you before we wrapped up. What do you what's your take on Roman, Seth, and Punk?
I like it. It makes sense. I like the fact that Punk brought up that neither of them have ever beaten him without the other's help. I'm like, okay, that's a good storyline beat there. Yeah, I'm not complaining about the way that they're setting up Mania this year. A lot of people are, but I think it's just because the last 2 Manias were so epically built because of the Cody story and stuff like that. Like, it's lightning in a bottle. You can't have that every year. So we got spoiled the last 2 years. So now a lot of people are complaining and saying, like, oh, this year's Mania isn't going to be that good. And that's why we got to bring back Stone Cold and all that stuff. Like, they're not ready to, it seems like the audience isn't ready fully to embrace the new crop of stars outside of Roman and Cody, pretty much. Like, why isn't Drew and Damian a good match? Like, nobody's been able to really say anything other than it has no build. I'm like, it's got plenty of build. They have a whole story. Like, and Drew just laid it out very precisely the other day on SmackDown or whatever. He was like, you cashed in Money in the Bank on me and took my title. Then Punk helped you retain your title against me. Then, you know, then this like he named off like 5 things in a row, like to where he should have a legit, Royal Rumble was next, then Elimination Chamber. He named off all this stuff, and it's like there's plenty of story built in here. Like, what are we talking about? But people just, I guess, because I don't know, they don't look at Damian Priest like that, I think is what it is. Like, and I don't know. That was why I asked that question.
So Steve was one of the biggest what's the word I want to use? He was not down with this feud when Drew first got eliminated from Elimination Chamber, and it was by Damian, and then Damian got out right after, and that's basically where he knew that the feud was going. He was not down with it at all.
What was his reasoning?
What was his reasoning? He thinks Drew is way more deserving and way more elevated and deserves to be in a higher spot on Mania because of the year that he had last year, with the feud with Punk and everything. Also based off of his character kind of right now, as far as like him kind of on that like Kevin Owens trajectory of like, I'm a heel, but like I have mad justification in everything that I'm doing, and I can fully explain it and lay it out to you in full detail, and it's gonna make sense. You might not agree with how I'm going about it, but you are gonna understand where I'm coming from at the end of the day. So I think that kind of mixed with Damian Priest's booking post losing the world title. I think that was probably a mix of it, but the thing that Steve told me, and we've had this conversation a numerous amount of times since, we kind of know that is the direction that they're going in. Drew and Damian are killing the storyline right now. They're doing a great job, and it's by a couple of very simple things. Like you said, Drew is laying out his reasons very simply. Damian has been there every single time that something major was supposed to happen, whether I was supposed to cash in and win the world title and Money in the Bank, whether it was the losing or winning the world title against Seth Rollins, and then Punk immediately screws me over, but then you're there to cash in on me. Like, there's mad different examples that you can go back on the previous couple of years and notice that Damian and Drew, I brought this up before, but the War Games match between Damian and Drew, they've had issues even since then. So they have had issues for a very long time now, and I think a lot of people are just overlooking it for whatever reason, because I think that they just don't see Damian as a top guy. But here's my other
and
part.
I think that's my issue. That's my problem right there, I guess.
They don't
is
look
why
at Damian
don't they
as a
look
top
at
guy. That's what it is.
But why? Why don't they? Because that was the first thing that you said was because Drew has had such a stellar year, he deserves more. And I'm like, okay, well, let's look at it. Damian's a former world champion. Drew's a former world champion. Damian's over. You know, he was on Raw all last year. Remember, I brought this up in episode 1. I was like, let's see if he's the same level of star on SmackDown, standing next to all those other guys as he was on Raw. And now I think we're starting to see that maybe the crowd doesn't look at him like that. I don't understand why. I'm not sure of what the disconnect is. Maybe that's something Steve will have to elaborate on, for me and make it make sense for me a little bit. But he's not the only one with that opinion. That's all I want to ask him, because that's the thing that isn't connecting for me. It's like, why aren't people looking at Damian like that? Like, he's got all the qualities of a star. Why?
Yeah, and I have this argument with him all the time. Like, I 100% think that Damian has all the qualities that you're looking for if you're looking for a WWE star right now. Like, he's got it. I think personally, it just, me looking on the outside of it, I think that they don't give Damian enough time to talk. Personally,
I think that's part of it.
I think that's
and
part of it.
then another huge thing that just in general, and I know we have this conversation a lot, but the music is so important to getting people over as well. There's two things that got people over in the Attitude Era. One was their music. Two was Jim Ross.
Yep.
That was the key. Everyone who is like considered like a legend from that era has some legendary Jim Ross line that coincides with something major in their career.
Yep.
You know, every time Triple H was wilding out doing evil shit, you son of a bitch, why? Like, you know what I'm saying? No, like, but that got him over as a heel. It really made you at home feel like, man, this motherfucker's evil. Like, because Jim Ross was so passionate about the way he delivered the lines. He's another guy who forgets what kayfabe is. Like, he gets caught up in the moment. So he did that with him. He did that with Stone Cold whenever he would win. Stone Cold, my God. Like, he was going crazy. Like, and it made you get invested. The Rock, same shit. So it's like the music and having those classic moments with Jim Ross laying out that commentary. I think Michael Cole has gotten better at it, you know, over time, like, especially now in the new regime where he's had freedom. He's gotten a lot better at it, but
yeah, he's just now figuring out his spot. Like his call when he was like tearing up when Cody won the world title last year, when he was like, "This is why I love pro wrestling." Like that call, like
that's JR
remember
shit.
Michael Cole for his tie-in with Cody forever after that.
That's what I'm saying, though.
Yeah,
it's those things that'll get somebody over. You know what I mean? It's not just giving somebody a microphone and letting them go talk. It's not just having cool moves in the ring. It's not just having banger matches. It's not even just having a good story. It's a combination of all of those things, but it's also the extra pieces outside of it. Like, we watch wrestling bios all the time. Mm-hmm. And you'll notice, like, he'll slow down little things, like when the ref gets hype at a certain time. Like, he'll be like, look at how the ref jumped into position. And it's those little things, too. Like, or like when, you know, Goldberg hits the spear and the ref's like, oh, like, you know what I mean? It makes the crowd react even more. And now it's that much more impactful of a move, you know, or a moment, because everybody's in on it instead of just, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it works. It's almost like that's a big difference in crowds also with like the AEW crowd, WWE crowd. The AEW crowd is a lot more willing to be in on the act. So like when Toni Storm came back, for example, and she was pretending to be a rookie, everyone in the crowd just instantly was like, she's an excellent rookie and like, she's amazing. I can't believe that she's just now starting her career. Like, we just instantly played into it. You know what I mean? So it gets the gimmick over that much more versus, you know, us being like, Tony, what are you talking about? Like, you were the world. Like, you know what I mean? Like in WWE, we'd be like, you're so stupid, Tony. We know the real, like, blah, blah, blah. Why are you trying to fool us all? Like, kind of like the Chad Gable thing.
I was just about to bring that up. Like, they're doing that right now with Chad Gable, and I think that's really smart.
In AEW, the crowd, if in AEW, the crowd would play along and act like that's a luchador.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? They just act like that's not Chad Gable. Wow. You know what I mean? Whereas in WWE, they're going to be like, oh, come on, Chad. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's almost like the Harley Cameron thing. Like, the crowd pretends like that's not the same person. Like, right. You know what I mean? We're like, oh shit, it's Harley Graham. Where's Harley Cameron at? That's weird that they're never in the same place at the same time. Like, but we play along. You know what I mean? It's, you know, so I don't know. It's just it's those little things that can really help get a character over. I feel like, you know, it's everybody else playing their role in it.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Yeah, man. The only other thing I wanted to bring up real quick, because I gotta get off here in a minute before we discuss Ring in the Wraps, is there's one other triple threat that is brewing right now, and again, we kind of discussed it earlier because it's not officially confirmed yet, but we pretty much know it's going to happen. Rhea versus Bianca versus Io. So the only question I want to ask you is, have you changed your stance at all on Bianca going heel based on her character display within the past couple of weeks?
No, no. The reason why is just because in different countries, different people get different reactions. So
Okay.
they've been in Europe for the last 2 weeks, and EO has a lot of history over there, you know, based on like her indie runs and stuff like that before she was in WWE. So she's super over in Europe. So she was going to get babyface reactions no matter what. And when they paired her up with Bianca and she was getting all those cheers first, and then Bianca had to retort, it made the crowd boo her. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't think that's necessarily anything Bianca did that made her more heelish. That crowd just happened to love EO a lot. And it was like that pretty much in all of, you know, in both places that they were in.
Yeah.
Rhea is kind of the same thing. I don't know how much wrestling she did in Europe, but, you know, she's part of the whole, you know, she's from Australia, you know, so the Commonwealth thing, you know, they got that in common. So people from Europe tend to like their Australian wrestlers also. So she's going to be super over when she comes out. So I really just think in that particular scenario, Bianca just happened to be the one who caught the brunt of it. But I don't necessarily think she's going to turn heel. I think they're going to still tell that story. I mean, she might turn heel on, you know, with Jade or something like that, but I don't think it'll be as a result of the Mania match. Like, I think she's naturally always aggressive, so that's not really a character change. You know what I mean? Like her fighting with Rhea and EO and get on my face, I'm not getting slapped again and blah, blah, blah. Like that's regular Bianca stuff. She would have did that anyway. You know what I mean? There's just all these other layers on top of it. So I don't think this will be the catalyst for the heel change, but I do think that there's still potential for it involving the Jade and Naomi situation.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think that the turn is still potentially coming, but I don't necessarily think it's gonna happen at Mania per se.
Right.
Like, I think if we do see anything, like let's say Bianca fucks around and wins the title, which I still don't really know where I have that one going yet, so we can talk predictions later on. But let's say Bianca wins the title. And she wins it in like a slightly heelish way, but like doesn't all the way turn yet. I could see something like that happening.
I could see that
to where it
maybe she pulls the tights or something like that.
Yeah, like something like that, to where it's like we in our mind know that like, oh, okay, you're starting to go that way, but like you're just not all the way there yet. And then like maybe
committed,
like
but
Money in the Bank or like SummerSlam or something like that. That's when we get the big reveal or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, because I still don't really know. Here's my thing. I still don't really know if Bianca is in on it with Naomi on this whole Jade situation. They're playing it very, very smart right now because we've had this conversation numerous amount of times with this whole story, but I really like how open-ended it really still is. Like we know that Naomi at this point, we know that she attacked Jade, but we still don't really know if she just did this on her own. We still don't really know if the story that she gave on SmackDown is 100% fact, or if the catalyst is still Bianca being the one that actually put the battery in her back months ago. We still really don't know. Like I said, I like how open-ended it is because Bianca is, like you said, Bianca does act like this already anyway, so this isn't really too far outside of her character. I do think that she is starting to slow slightly more aggression than she has when she was just a clear-cut, happy to be here babyface. Like now she has a real issue with Rhea. She has an issue with EO. Like there's real stuff going on. There's the stuff with Jay going on. There's all this real stuff going on that I don't really think Bianca has been faced with main roster wise so far. Like the only other real issue that happened before was the Becky Lynch situation, and she never turned after that. It was Becky Lynch who turned. So I think we do have the potential to see it. I do just wonder how they are going to tie it in with the Jade thing, if they are still planning on going that way.
Yeah, I mean, the only way that makes sense for me is she has to pick a side between Naomi and Jade,
And
Because
I'm
for
still
me,
with
it
you on
just
that
doesn't
too.
make sense for her to be the one to have put a battery in Naomi's back. Because why? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's unless her reason is because I think Jade sucked and she was a shitty wrestler and she was holding me down and Naomi would have been a better partner, then okay, that makes sense. But if you don't say that, there's really no explanation for it. You guys are
Yeah.
already the champions. Like, you know what I'm saying? What
Yeah.
benefit do you get out of taking your partner out and replacing her with somebody else? Like, that doesn't even make sense if you guys are already the champions. So
Yeah.
that's why it doesn't make sense for Bianca to be the one to put the battery in her back. However, I could see a situation where Naomi keeps talking to her, keeps trying to drive that wedge. Like, you know, you were the only reason that y'all were champions, and Jade was always holding you down. And I could see that. And then Bianca starts maybe believing it a little bit, and then that causes, you know, and then she chooses to be friends with Naomi over Jade or some shit like that. That
Yeah.
I could see that being the direction it goes in, and that's how you get there. But outside of that, it just doesn't logically make sense for Bianca to be the one to do it. Like Naomi's reasoning on her own makes all the sense in the world because those everything she said was what I was saying her reasoning was going to be. I was like, because she took her spot. Naomi's like, I would have been the one getting all these opportunities and doing everything if you weren't here. And that's basically what she said. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, that makes sense.
I'll wrap this part up with this, and I just thought about it in my head, and I couldn't explain it very clearly now. The reason why people want Bianca to be behind or be the mastermind behind this whole thing is because they want her to turn heel so bad. Here's
I
my
get
thing
it,
with
but
that.
it's got to make sense.
You can still have both with the explanation that you just laid out. You can still have Bianca turn heel later on,
Yeah.
and you can still have it logically make sense by Naomi corrupting Bianca and then Bianca being like, you know what? Maybe you were right this whole time. Maybe she was holding me down. Maybe I was better this whole time. And then you have it turn. Whereas her being the mastermind behind the whole thing, like you said, it just doesn't logically make sense.
There's no logic.
Whereas you can, the fans who still want Bianca to turn heel, you can still have that. You can still have it happen. It just doesn't need to be in the way of, oh, Bianca planned this whole thing out from the start.
Yeah.
No, that because again, it just doesn't make sense. Whereas if she turns later on because of Naomi's influence, better storytelling, in my opinion, there too.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be right back. We're ringing the raps, y'all. All right. And this week on the Ringing the Raps, we have the Italian hip hop artist who was featured on Monday Night Raw this past week, Anna. Apparently she's huge over in Italy, and I think she's platinum. One of their like biggest selling artists over there. Eric, what's up with Anna?
Yeah, so we didn't know anything about her when we first saw her on. You said it was Raw, but she got a huge response by the audience in Italy, so that was kind of what let us know that she was huge off the rip. You go on social media, and everybody in the wrestling online community was basically all thirsting, all trying to figure out who this person was. So from what I gather here, she is 21. She got her start in like 2018, basically by doing freestyles on Instagram.
Okay.
She started getting her break around 2019 when she started collaborating with another rapper named Anis or Anis, or I'm not sure how you pronounce it. It's spelled Anis.
I'm hoping it's Anise and not Anus. That would be a
Yeah,
terrible name.
yeah. But yeah, she got her started out in 2019, and then basically got her big breakout with a single in 2020 called Bando. Funny because it seems like Bandos always get it done for a lot of artists these days. But
Right. Because I'm sure that
yes,
means something totally different over there than it.
for real. But it did end up earning its way onto the Fast X soundtrack for the Fast X film. So that's how you
Okay.
know that how big it got at that point. She ended up doing remixes for it. Ended up getting a number 80 spot in Germany and a number 70 in Switzerland. She released her first album called Lista 47 in 2022, I believe. And she has another project out right now called Verabati. If you know who Young Miles is another artist who collaborates with Bad Bunny a lot. They have also done some collaboration. He does a lot of production for Bad Bunny as well.
Okay.
So she's currently signed to Virgin Records. And it also says she's a songwriter, so she also does write her own stuff.
That's what's up.
I think it was cool that they featured her just because it feels like just with WWE in general right now. Actually, I won't even say just WWE. I'll say pretty much all wrestling. It feels like they're also leaning very heavy into rap, basically being like pop music. And I kind of love that because that's primarily who you see featured, like when they like are showing these different artist shots in the crowd. Like you do see your mix of different celebrities, whether it be comedians or basketball players, football players, whatever the case may be. But I noticed with the artists that they show, it's 80% of the time it's going to be a rapper.
Yeah, because like the thing about rap that people don't like to admit, because a lot of street people rap or street adjacent people, but the thing that nobody likes to admit is that rappers are nerds. Because you got to think, like, you got to be really good with words. You have to know a lot of words. So that means you have to be relatively educated. You know what I mean? You have to have a lot of subject matter to pull from. So that means you have to be, knowledgeable about, if you're Wu-Tang, it's going to be martial arts films, in addition to the streets and stuff like that. If you're, other rappers, it might be comic books. If you're, you know what I'm saying? Like if you're West Side Gun and them, it's going to be wrestling related stuff a lot of the times. Like, but rappers are nerds. So, a lot more rappers actually acknowledge wrestling in their music than you really think about, you know what I mean? Unless like you're actively a wrestling fan or like you're listening for it. Like obviously Ric Flair gets mentioned all the time and, everybody's rap songs, and there's certain guys, you know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, like, one of these episodes, we're going to cover the WWF Aggression album. We'll just go through it track for track and that'll be a fun episode, I think. But yeah,
sure.
So it is dope when they go overseas and, they shine a light on the artists that are, still carrying the hip hop torch over there. Cause hip hop's always been big in Europe. Like a lot of our old school acts make their living touring in Europe.
Yeah, for sure. Just to give a correction, just in case there are any Anna fans out there and they're like, Eric, you said part of her facts wrong. I just wanted to clear some of them up. So for the EP, what I mentioned earlier, Lista 47, I said that was her debut album. That was actually just her debut project in general. It was an EP that came out in 2022. And then her debut album, which is called Verabati, was released last year, June 28th.
Okay.
And that album is 3 times platinum. So yeah, like
that's
she is definitely pretty big.
There we go. We go. Okay. Well, yeah. Shout out to Anna. Keep doing your thing. Maybe we'll see you at some more wrestling events. Because it seems like they're gonna be because the crowds over there are so good. You have to go back. Like I know they're gonna be planning more European tours over there. So hopefully we'll see you doing doing some more stuff with them, or maybe you'll come overseas to America and do some stuff with some artists over here. Maybe you and Bad Bunny collab, and maybe you do an entrance theme or something like that on the way. There's many a creative avenue in the world of wrestling. So
don't involve hitting Cody in the face and giving him a black eye.
Is that what? Say that one more time.
I said that doesn't involve hitting Cody in the face and giving him a black eye.
Yeah. We're gonna get to Travis shortly.
Yeah, we'll get to him soon.
Yeah, we'll get to you soon, buddy. But until then, this has been Shoot Style Sessions. Steve will be back next week with us. But until then, I'm your boy Shane G. This is Eric G. Make sure you check out sickosclub.com. Make sure you follow at sickos.club. Follow me at Shane_ethos. Follow Ethos Media Network at Ethos Media Network. Everything I just said is both Instagram and Threads. That's where you're going to find us. And Eric, where are they going to find you, sir?
The Eric G Life on all platforms, baby.
There it is. All right, y'all. This has been Shoot Style Sessions. We'll catch you next week. Like, share, subscribe. Peace.